All right. So a little housekeeping note. I understand that when you came in registered, you should have gotten a little blue ticket. If you have not deposited half of that ticket into one of the boxes over on the table there, we have some door prizes that we're going to be giving out at the end of the day, so please make sure you do that before the end of the afternoon. One of the things that I really enjoy seeing is when it feels like we're winning some of these battles. And it's a long war, and it's probably a war that's never going to end, but it's nice to see some of those incremental victories. One of the areas where it feels like we're seeing some of those battles won is with Common Core. I think we've really seen a lot of uptake in awareness. People are more aware of Common Core than ever before, and the more they know about it, the less they like it. And that doesn't happen without the efforts, the tireless efforts of people who are constantly getting that message out, constantly going to meetings, constantly holding elected officials accountable for what they're doing. And it's a daunting task because we're up against a paid bureaucracy who's advancing that agenda versus volunteers who have jobs, they have families, they have a lot to do. But one of those, I know there are a couple of people I've seen who I recognize as being tireless in that effort to stand up for parents' rights and education. Our next speaker is one of those people. And if you have been following anything around Common Core in the state of New Hampshire, you're probably on her mailing list. So I'd like to introduce the Education Liaison for Cornerstone Policy Research, Anne-Marie Banfield.
Thank you. I have to have notes because otherwise I'll forget some of these things and they're so important. First of all, thank you for having me today. I'm a mom. I'm with Cornerstone. I'm a volunteer. Everything I do as a volunteer. Common Core is obviously the issue in education, and it has been for a few years now. And I have so many people in this room to thank and outside this room that have helped me in this effort. Deb in the back, Skip, I mean, everybody's getting the word out on this, and I'm so grateful. Steve, all of you guys have been so great. But there's two other people that have really been instrumental, and I want to just make sure that you're aware of them, because if you don't get a hold of me, if you have questions, I want to make sure that you are aware who they are. Doris Hohensee, right over here on the side, for New Hampshire Families for Education. I cannot begin to tell you how grateful I am to her for all of her efforts. And Michelle Lavelle, I don't think she's here. She's with New Hampshire Liberty Alliance. The three of us have crisscrossed this state. We attend meetings. We don't get paid. We are at the legislative hearings. And that's not to blow our home, but I just want to make sure that I don't leave these important people out, because without their efforts, we wouldn't be as far along as we are on this. So what is Common Core? I think a lot of people kind of have an understanding of it. Jeb Bush just tried to spin it, and let me tell you something, he is a devout worshiper of Common Core. Make no mistake about that. He will not relent on this, and that tells me that he is not in touch with parents. I'm going to just briefly touch on Common Core because there's a bigger issue here. Common Core is a set of standards, math and English right now, science are coming, and if you think the math and English are bad, look out for this science, because they are very politically motivated. And we do have them in New Hampshire, and 4 appointed members of the Board of Education voted them in. That means that the people did not vote them in, and they've never been voted in. But I want to touch on something bigger than Common Core, and that is Obama's redesign of education in the United States. And it's fully being implemented in New Hampshire schools. And that is being facilitated by Governor Hassan. Make no mistake about that. That's where the buck stops in New Hampshire with her. And she is fully facilitating this. So the redesign is what the proper term is. The redesign is a big picture of Common Core. So within that redesign, you have the standards, you have the data collection, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. They got to collect data on students. But the question is why? Why? What they're doing is they're transforming public education from an education that is based in liberal arts. So we're going to teach you about the core academic subjects, science, math, English, and we're going to give you an academic foundation. That's what the liberal arts education was about. This is what Steve Jobs fought for. Bill Gates' idea of education is workforce training, dumbed down workforce training, okay? Because you have to dumb it down in order to get something like this through. And in New Hampshire, it's called competency-based education. If you're familiar with outcome-based education, that's what it is. They just simply changed the name, hoping that you won't catch on that, you brought in outcome-based education. So that's what we're doing in New Hampshire, and Common Core is part of that. So I just want to be clear that we're shifting from liberal arts to this outcome-based education model, workforce training model. And I want to kind of give you some examples. I don't have a whole lot of time, but I want to give you examples of what that means in the classroom. And I've got a printout, and I'd be happy to send it to anybody. It's called Comparison of Two Types of Education. One is the traditional. You're thinking that your schools are traditional right now. No, they're not. They are not traditional schools. Traditional schools is academic-based. What we're shifting to is outcome-based. So the traditional schools were classical. The progressive schools, outcome-based, are full of radical left-wing indoctrination and social justice agenda. Under the traditional schools, you would have direct instruction by a teacher. Under the outcome-based model, you have self-directed or a groupthink kind of model. It emphasizes subjectivity, feelings, emotions, beliefs, multiculturalism, political correctness, social engineering, globalism. There's a de-emphasis on the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the Founding Fathers, American exceptionalism. Under the traditional model, which is what we should all be fighting for, you would have an academic, fact-based skills and research model. Under this new model, outcome-based, you have social concerns, project-based, constructivist, uses unproven fads and theories. So the teacher's role under a traditional role would be academic instruction. They teach us. There's a foundation of knowledge that you expect your kids to learn in the core subjects. Under this new model, the teacher becomes a facilitator of knowledge. And so the kids are working in groups, and you have student-led groups, and it's very group-oriented, a group kind of think mentality. In social studies, under the traditional model, you would have focus on American exceptionalism, national sovereignty and founding documents. Under this model, you have diversity, multiculturalism, and globalization. So that, I just wanted to kind of highlight the differences of what is going on in our schools right now. So when you hear the term competencies in your high schools, that's what this means. This is outcome-based education. As the candidates come to New Hampshire, many of them say, I don't support Common Core. You need to dig deeper. What I heard come from Governor Bush, I laughed. I thought, you've got to be kidding me. He just spun that like a record. So dig deeper. Even some of these governors now who are saying, they were fully on board with this, and all of a sudden they've turned the corner and they're against this. You really need to, what have you done in your state? It's one thing to say it. What have you done in your state with the legislation? What have you done to stop this? And they might say, I'm against Common Core. Dig deeper. Where are you on workforce development? Where are you on this competency base? Because a lot of them will say, I'm against the standards now. Well, sure, it's easy to say because the public isn't fully aware. Who's campaigning on, let's abolish the U.S. Department of Education? That's a question that we need to keep. And you know what? Some of them are. Some of them are campaigning on it. Senator Rubio said that he, the other day, said that he would, thinking about that's a good idea. Start pushing this. The teachers right now are an untapped resource because the teachers hate this. I had a teacher in New Hampshire 2 weeks ago send me an email saying, Anne Marie, I was brought up as a Democrat. I knew I wasn't, and guess what? I'm now a Republican. Let me tell you something. These people inside the schools that see what's going on and don't like it are an untapped resource. And I've got them coming to me right now. And so my point is that they're thinking, and they're looking at the U.S. Department of Education going, why do we have it? People who used to worship this department are ready to just stab it to death. So that's what we're starting to see with this issue itself, and we need to tap into it. But I can see that my time is up. I don't know, and everybody's taking questions. I don't know if you have time for questions, if anybody has any. Yep. Yep. Yeah, whenever somebody defends it, ask what they're getting paid. You know what? I don't get paid. Matter of fact, my husband looks at our tax return and goes, "You spent this much money?" Because I don't get paid. But I spend a lot of money, out here fighting for parental rights, out here educating people. But the people who are supporting it look at the funding that they're getting. And he's one of them. Yep. Outcome-based education, competency. Yeah, it's competency. They just changed the name around. Yep. Yeah. So the NEA, which is the teachers union, you have to keep in mind that they're so tight. They're so tight with these political people that it's hard for them to go against them. But the teachers are the ones who are saying, you got to do something, you got to do something. So, okay. Right. To restrict the NEA, not that I know of. Not that I know of. I think that, when there's any kind of hierarchy like that, like if you're a teacher, you need I tell the teachers, get in that office with your union rep and tell them that they need to be representing you. They're pretty vocal on the testing, which is really good, but they really haven't been very vocal as far as opposing the standards themselves. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Right. Right. Yep. Right. Yep. That's right. Yes. Yeah. Yep. I agree. Oh, okay. That's okay. No problem. I will come back there. How's that?
Thank you so
All right.
much.
No
Thanks very much.
Croc TV.